op-ed about Hillary's health entitled, "I Protect Hillary Clinton in the Secret Service. Here's why her fainting video really scares me." Joining us now to explain more is the man himself, the author of Crisis of Character, former Secret Service officer Gary Byrne. Also with us tonight, author of the upcoming book, Guilty as Sin, Ed Klein is with us. Gary, let's talk about it. Why? Tell us about this op-ed.
Hi, Sean. How are you? What I saw, Sean, the reason I wrote the op-ed was because what scared me was that clearly Mrs. Clinton was having some kind of medical episode. Now, I am not a medical expert, as you know, but I am an expert on observation, and I'm also an expert on Secret Service procedures. And the first scene you see in that video, Sean, of Mrs. Clinton where she's leaning up against the Ballard, clearly her body is stiff. And as the few seconds that shows her standing there, her head keeps raising further and further back. The woman on the left-hand side, the staff member, has her hand underneath her arm, clearly trying to help control her and support her. When the van pulls up, everybody who's ever gotten into a vehicle, a taxi, a van, watch Mrs. Clinton's action as the van pulls up. She stares straight ahead. She doesn't even acknowledge that the van is there. And then the African-American agent walks around to the van, Sean. He opens the door and then steps back and grabs Mrs. Clinton's left arm. The bald agent, who I believe is the shift leader, does something that's pretty unusual. He walks between the open van door and the protectee. And the reason he does that is because he knows she can't move without his help. Then he takes her right arm, then the woman behind her grabs Mrs. Clinton under both armpits, and they all start moving her towards the van.
And she's still collapsed.
As they move her right. As they move her, Sean, you can see she loses complete control to support herself. And then they pull her into the van as they're pushing her into the van, and they're so quick to try to get away from people seeing this that they actually move so fast that her shoe fell off, and they left it on the sidewalk and on the street, and somebody picked it up and handed it to the agent in the follow-up vehicle. This disturbs me greatly.
Are you worried at all about the Secret Service's handling of this? I mean, I hate to be critical of them. I do have my pin up here, and they do a good job, and they put their life on the line for all of our national leaders, and it's an important job. We've got to protect them. But there seemed to be a circle that covered what was going on. Sorry,
right,
like
so
I
that's
covered
standard procedure.
Like that. Yeah.
So that's standard procedure. Everything they did was spot on to the training. I literally, as you know, I was a uniform division officer, but I worked at the training center, and I literally used to help train the agents in some of these skills. And everything they did was correct. Don't forget, they're not just protecting. What they did wasn't unusual. They weren't really protecting Mrs. Clinton from a video camera. They're protecting her from somebody with a gun. It's all about assassination.
Okay, look, but you're saying there's something seriously wrong with her. Now, there's a book by Dr. Connie Mariano. Do you remember her?
I do. I remember her well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, apparently, she was the White House doctor for the Clintons. Quote, I assigned a female nurse in civilian attire to accompany Hillary on the campaign trail. I notified the Secret Service she was on medication. In the event she was injured, excessive bleeding would be dangerous. And Hillary had lied at that time, telling her staff that she had pulled a muscle rather than saying she had a blood clot. So this would not be the first time, correct? Did you know that? No.
Yes, actually, I did. I don't remember from the time, but I've learned it since then. And I do remember she was actually a Navy doctor, Dr. Mariano. She was a captain when I met her, and she retired as a one-star admiral.
Yeah.
Listen, none of this surprises me, Sean. And I realize they just supposedly released her medical records. The first thing I listen to is their language. We're releasing medical records. I don't believe a thing on there. Based on what I've saw over the years of, when, for instance, Mrs. Clinton first claimed at the Benghazi attack that it was a video, and you go back to her husband claiming that he did not have an affair with the intern, Monica Lewinsky. I don't believe a thing out of their campaign's propaganda.
Yeah. All right, Ed Klein, we do know that most voters doubt Hillary is telling the truth about her medical condition.
With good reason.
And Bill Clinton now says she frequently collapsed. He actually exposed that. You've got the video of her, remember, going up the stairs in February. I mean, she could barely walk upstairs. You have another Democratic politician saying, yeah, I gave a speech with our Senator White House, and saying she could barely walk up to the podium, for crying out loud. And then there was another point where Hillary admitted she had collapsed a few times. She's perfectly fine except for pneumonia. Pneumonia, that's a problem. They don't tell the truth, so I don't believe anything that their doctor is putting out, because they can get any doctor feel good to say anything they want.
Absolutely. Now, I've been for over 2.5 years reporting on her health, as you know.
Yeah.
And I've been speaking to friends and associates who tell me when they visit Chappaqua, where the Clintons live, Hillary frequently faints or swoons. That when she sits down, she has to put her legs up because she's worried about blood clots. That she has Huma Abedin bringing her cold compresses all the time. This is a woman who, what we've seen, this video, is just the tip of the iceberg of something that's been going on for a long time.
I agree with you, and the problem here is, you know, the media is so dishonest and so corrupt and so in the tank for her that they advance the phony narrative. Oh, it was so hot outside. It was 75 to 77 degrees and breezy. That is not hot.
Yeah, and pneumonia doesn't make you faint.
There's one more thing.
Also.
True. Yeah.
There's one more thing I'd like to point out. If you saw anybody else show the same behavior that we saw Mrs. Clinton show, standing there leaning up against that Ballard, the Secret Service would have taken them immediately to the hospital. So what that tells me is that whatever's wrong with her, they appear to be treating it, and the service knew she was going to get treatment, either in the van or at the family member's apartment that they went to. If you saw anybody else behave like that, you would immediately take them to the hospital.
I agree, and Ed, that's you know she has control. So they got in the car, and I would argue that the New York Post had it right. The reason she didn't want to go to the hospital, because then she would have to disclose what her real condition is, and they don't want to tell the American people the truth.
Exactly, and I still think they're not telling the truth.
It's certainly possible, yes.
But what happens if she now gets back on the campaign trail and she faints again? A second time.
Let's see what happens.
There'll be another set of lies.
Yeah. All right, guys, thank you very much.
There'll be another set of stories. Yep.
At the very minimal. All right.